Greetings, fellow investigators, and welcome to our video podcast, Into the Darkness, where tonight my friends and I will be playing World War Cthulhu. I'm your host, Tom Rayleigh. Our scenario is The Angel of the Abyss. It was written by Matthew Sanderson, and he is also our game master. This will be episode 1. So without any further delay, let's begin our journey into the darkness. Matthew?
Right, thank you very much, Tom. So the date is Sunday, the 22nd of November, 1942. It's been a couple of years since Churchill ordered the Special Operations Executive to set Europe ablaze. Things are not necessarily going well for them. The war is dragging on. Resources are tight, and it is indeed a dark hour. We open our scene in a little office, which is just above a bookshop off Tottenham Court Road, or near Leicester Square. And you have 5 people stood in this room with another man who is sat behind a desk. There's a few things on his desk. There's this weird looking clay type statue that he uses almost as a paperweight in the corner. And then in the opposite side of the room behind you, there's a bookcase which is filled with some very old books, quite valuable books. And then evidently having just been dropped on the floor almost carelessly as if they're worth nothing. In front of it, there's just this pile of folders marked top secret that gradually just expands over the floor. And the man behind the desk is a person that you are very familiar with. His code name is N, that he is very much an old spy master that has connections with Whitehall. He's seen walking the halls of power. He goes to Downing Street. He goes to Down Street as well, which is where the SOE headquarters is. And generally, he's quite a mysterious figure. He knows a lot of things that maybe man was not meant to know, and has formed Network N, that this group within the SOE that he brings together people to solve or deal with problems of a darker nature that might appear out there in war, because war has a tendency to bring things to the surface. So these 5 people that we have in the room will go around and do introductions and descriptions of how they're dressed and how they're behaving. As you got an urgent telegram on a note passed to you this morning at 9 a.m. said, "Meet me. This is as soon as possible." We'll start with Thelma.
All right, my name is Thelma Balta. I'm an intelligence analyst. My ancestral country home is being used as by the war effort. My family has long been interested in oddities and strange goings on. My family has explored parts of Africa, and I've known N for a number of years. I'm a woman. with a beard.
There it goes. You just got a very good disguise skill, that's all. All right, next round we've got Tom Drummond.
Hello, I'll be playing Tom. Tom Drummond is a sniper and a former groundskeeper on a very wealthy estate in the Highlands. He's quite patriotic, so whenever word of war spread, he volunteered immediately as his duty to his country. Quite a big fella, well-built, gruff voice, got a farmer's tan. He normally sits in the back lines, but he's always looking out for his comrades.
All right, and next up we've got Jack Barnes.
Jack Barnes from Guernsey, ex-police officer. I tried to get in on the commando operation to help retake Guernsey, but I failed. I think it's the whiskey, and takes a sip. And then took me under his wing. Some people think I'm a little bit sour.
And Miss Carter.
Comm Specialist Carter, Helen Carter, reporting for duty. I'll be the radio operator for this mission, I believe. Come from a university. I've had a great interest in art history and photography. I do that on the side. I actually captured some fascinating lights that I was chasing up in an attic in Brighton. And what ended up developing out of those photos weren't just lights, but some very bizarre things that looked almost like creatures. And as I tried to study further into what they were, sure enough, I found myself at Inn's door. I'm happy to be part of the mission.
Okay, and last but certainly not least, Pierre.
Oui. I'm called Pierre Tourment, a French soldier who was, in fact, captured briefly during the German occupation. I was given a strange text to deliver to this man N, and that is how I came to know him. It was an old book, and I perhaps read more of it than I should have.
Yes, he is indeed a collector of material that man was not meant to know. So you've just come into the room. You've been the door's been opened, and you've been able to get in. And he's basically just said, "Yeah, please take a row." He closes a folder that he's been scribbling in, and he looks up at you. Well, gentlemen and ladies, to give you some head up, it looks like you're going to be, within the course of the next couple of hours, invited to a briefing down at SOE headquarters to support Operation Harling, which is currently underway in central Greece. The mission's objective is to sabotage a major transport route that supplies the German army in North Africa. So this is where Rommel is essentially getting his fuel line. There is a main railway track that goes through Greece and then down to a port in the southeast, from there across the Med, and then supplying Rommel's army there. You're not going to be told all of the information about Harling, because if you were to be captured, it would basically throw a spanner in the works, shall we say. So plausible deniability that you won't be given any information that you say don't need to know. Currently, we have, or rather the SOE has a team in Greece which has made contact with both sides of the Greek resistance and is training them in the use of weaponry that we're supplying, such as a Sten gun, for example, so that the main assault on the main target to disrupt this train line will take place imminently. It's in the next few days at the very most. They've already spent a fair amount of time in Greece setting this up, and the clock is ticking. I've received an intelligence report about a team comprising of both sides of the faction, which is based in a town just away from the train line, a little bit further to the south of where this is going to go down. A little village or town called Castelia. The team's mission there is to intercept any reinforcements that might be coming up the train line to where the main assault takes place. So they're to deprive the defending force of more reinforcements. So they aren't going to be involved in the main strike themselves. The report states that there's been some unusual activity in Castelia while they've been stationed just outside there. That there's been open air congregations and religious services, which is unusual for the Greek Orthodox Church there. This is almost bordering on evangelical congregations, and our worry is that it's coming to the attention of the occupying Italian force. So you won't be going into German-occupied territory. The Italians are currently in control of this region of Greece, and so their patrols that have been going around have noticed this And the worry is that they keep on coming back to find out what's happening there, and it's threatening the secrecy of the operation that's going down there, because the resistance is just outside of town. Now, I believe you'll be receiving orders to go there to aid both sides of the resistance and hopefully calm troubled waters between them, because they are from diametrically opposing ends of the political spectrum. You have the Greek People's Liberation Army. I believe it's the ELAS is the acronym for them, out of the Greek. They're very much a left-wing organization, whereas we've initially started our negotiations and recruitment with the National Republican Greek League, which is right-wing, the EDES. So they're not exactly good bedfellows by nature. So we're hoping that you can assist them, get some bit of extra training for them, and work out diversions that can be used to help them to stop reinforcements coming up the train line when the proverbial hits the fan. Personally, I think that when someone says that there is religious activity in an area, that's an alarm bell for me. That's something that has maybe been sparked by something that might be lurking just under the surface in the area, something that's prompted this. So it might be a wild goose chase. In one respect, I maybe hope it is, that there isn't anything out there. But your mission from myself is to go out there, find if there is anything that's currently working against our efforts, identify it, as do a threat assessment, and if it is a threat, remove it. Do you have any question?
Understood.
I would tend to think, I would think that your assessment's pretty good, because Greek Orthodox tend to follow a very rigid sort of set of the ways they do services and stuff. They don't just suddenly have impromptu outdoor religious services.
Mm-hmm. Indeed.
Do your sources tell you how many parties there are in these rituals?
Well, we understand that the town is fairly religious, as is fairly common amongst Greek rural communities. So they have a large part of the town that go to these open air services. I mean, the population is in the region of somewhere in the region of 1,100 people.
So this will be very noticeable to the Italian. Yeah.
The huge congregation taking place outside in front of the church in the center of town. It's noticeable.
What is what's our experience? How is Mussolini and his forces as far as religious? I know technically they're probably all Catholic, but are they particularly religious, or is it just state religion?
I think it's more that it falls into the latter category. Again, from the reports I've got, it looks like that there could be the reason behind why they're taking so much of an interest is that it could be considered to be rallying insurgency, yeah. Because it's bringing the community together, and it's, from what we understand from the snippets of the sermons that have been taking place, it's very much a rallying call that God is on their side, obviously not the side of the Italians.
Oh, if I may, sir.
Mm-hmm.
How has SOE operations been received in this region so far?
It's been an uphill struggle. I won't deny that. That they have made some inroads, but the main stumbling block is that our intelligence seemed to be lacking quite a bit in regards to the left-wing group, the ELAS. That when the initial team was dropped into Greece, they made contact with the EDES, the right-wing group. They didn't even know the existence of the left-wing group was there. So you had this automatic friction where it was very much that it was seen we had sided with the right wing of the political spectrum and alienated the left. So there's a bit of resentment we've been trying to calm, but it seems like, at least for the group that are performing the main hit on the target, that they are a cohesive working team. They are working together now.
So we're trying to reinforce that so that we get both sides to work together against the invading German forces.
The Italian forces.
Italian forces.
The enemy of my enemy.
The Axis, right.
Mm-hmm. Yes, they seem to be having some difficulty in this group that have amassed outside Castelia, hence why you're to help unite them into a common goal, show them what to do, and basically get them to do the job and stop those reinforcements working their way up the train line.
In this region, is the left wing group or the right wing group larger, or is it roughly the same size?
Roughly the same size here. It's not a particularly massive group that's assembled outside of town. They're probably.
So I'm curious too. Is that meant to be a distraction so that Project Harling can go forward?
Yeah, we expect that as and when the target is attacked, that they will call for reinforcements from further up and down the train line. So there are different groups which are positioned along the routes to the north and south of the target, so that they can stop and basically intercept those forces going up, so that there is a lesser force for the main hit to be worried about.
But our real mission is to go in there and find out if there's something supernatural going on and to stop it. Okay.
So it's pretty much, there's a good chance of saying that there's like a schism within the church. It might be like a group of deviants that are doing this.
Perhaps that's for you to find out.
And we have a liaison in the area who will give us further information about Harling and this?
Yes, I understand that the leaders of both groups have been alerted to the fact you will be arriving in the near future, and they have already arranged for a pickup for you. So your arrival is expected.
Are we going in a disguise? Are we going to be dressed as the Greeks, or are we going to?
You'll be dressed as Greeks. Again, clothing will be provided for you in Cairo, I believe.
Excellent.
Right. I believe that's pretty much all the information that I can impart. I've got a Jeep waiting for you down, or Land Rover waiting for you down on the road, that can get you over to SOE, the SOE offices now, because they'll be calling you in shortly for your military briefing. Any other information they have to impart at that time, they'll give to you there.
All right.
Very well.
Oh, let's get on with this then.
Right, there's a short red line on the map going across London. It's not Down Street, it's Baker Street. Down Street's in Cold War, which is where the SIS are based at that point. So you are taken to Baker Street, and then called in to your a meeting with your handler, and history repeats itself. You get told a lot of the information that you've just been told. So putting on a face of, yep, we don't know this already. Obviously, there's nothing to see here. You're not a member of Network N. You don't need to know that we know this. They go through some more of the details for you, but they do expand on a couple of those points. The religious angle, it's only mentioned in passing and just described as activity that's taking place in the nearby village that might attract the attention of the Italian patrols. They kind of downplay that part. They're more worried about the conflict between the left and the right wing forces here. But they give you more logistics in terms of getting there and what you'll be doing. You'll be parachuted onto Mount Oetta tomorrow night. You're to gather equipment and leave immediately for RAF Tempsford in Bedfordshire, where you'll be boarding a B-24 Liberator that will take you to Gibraltar, from there to Cairo, and then from Cairo you'll be dropped into central Greece. They're not going to fly you over Central Europe because that is almost suicide. You're taking the safe route round. The trip will take approximately 24 hours to get to Cairo because you'll have a layover in Gibraltar. And once you get to Greece, you're pretty much hitting the ground running. There is no time to dawdle. Upon landing just before midnight in Greece, we have a guide that'll be waiting for you there. A lady by the name of Tassia Argris. I probably butchered the pronunciation. North of the village of Oencori, which is about 4.5 kilometers west of Castelia. She will guide you across the mountains to the village, where then you will meet with the Greek resistance just outside the town. You're to lend your support to the resistance and keep their presence hidden from the Italian army by any means possible. Emphasis: any means possible. If you're in danger of being discovered, you are to arrange diversions that will draw the attention of the Italian forces away from both the village and the target. They only refer to the they do refer to the target actually as a bridge, so they do give you a bit more of an information behind what might be one of those targets might be. After the operation, which will take place within the next week, you'll be picked up by a fast motor gunboat from the island of Petalis off the west coast of Greece. You'll be taken back from there to Malta, and then from Malta to Gibraltar, and then Gibraltar back to our area, Tempsford. The pickup is a very strict time because there's a very short window which we can get a boat in there. You'll be picked up at 1 minute past midnight on the morning of Saturday, the 28th of November. So you've got about a week to get this all turned around in. And on a note, probably more relevant for us as the SOE, as you're aware, it's been a couple of years since Churchill issued his order to set Europe ablaze. We need this one, and we need it badly, because at the moment it's going to be a fight for resources between ourselves and SIS. We can't have our department defunded. We are doing too much vital work, but it just takes time. If we can get a big one here, we can prove to the brass in Whitehall that we are doing our job and we are burning Europe to the ground.
Right.
You need to pull this one off. Any questions?
No, sir.
No, sir.
No,
Will
sir.
we be, at what point will we receive final equipment, so costume and weaponry and so on? Is this in transit or?
In Cairo.
Sorry.
You'll be arriving in Cairo about early afternoon local time on Monday the 23rd. We won't drop you into Greece during the day. Again, that's just stupidity. You'll have the rest of the day there to prepare, to gather equipment, to go over clothes and the like, and then you'll be dropped. You'll fly out early evening, and then get dropped just before midnight local time.
All right.
Although that said about equipment, is there anything anyone wants to requisition from the SOE supplies here? So if you want any specialist equipment or hardware.
A couple hand grenades would be good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's easy enough.
That sounds good too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Investigators stocking up with explosives. Who would do that?
Suicide pill.
Well, if you want a bandolier full of grenades.
That works.
Too heavy to carry.
The more the merrier.
Okay, you can easily get 6 per person if you wanted to have that that ability to just pull the pin and say goodbye to a lot of people in one go.
By any means possible, remember.
Indeed.
Oh, and as far as demolitions, that's going to be taken care of.
Well, they will have supplies there, but if you want to take anything that is specifically your equipment that you won't be having to go and find it from other people, then again you quite happily take some stuff with you.
Remind me one more time, which part of the resistance are we landing with, the left or the right?
Oh, Tassia, she's a member of the EDES. So she's part of the right wing group.
Okay.
Right.
Okay, in which case then, if again, if you have no other questions, he says, get outside for the Jeep. We'll get you over to RAF Tempsford in Bedfordshire, and you leave immediately.
Excellent.
So it seems like with a whole crate full of grenades, you make your way over there, and then we begin our red line on the map.
I'm assuming too we have our sidearms, like
Oh yeah,
our weapons.
yeah,
Yeah,
personal weapon.
I would have my rifle and my yeah. Okay, cool.
They're not going to deprive a commander or sniper of their tools.
Right.
Yeah.
They don't have. This is before shape charges to affix to doors to blow them open, right?
Yeah.
I figured.
I mean, that you can get dynamite with timers.
I have no explosive skill.
I
so I don't
love
want
the
to kill us.
enthusiasm, by the way.
Actually, that's a good. I was thinking it. I will acquire a little bit of timed explosives.
Okay.
Probably like two or three. I'll say 3 charges.
Okay. So you're getting 2 or 3 bundles. We'll say
Yeah.
3 bundles, or round it up to an even 8, as Seth would say in one of his videos. How many sticks do you want in each bundle?
Ooh. We'll say 4 for each. Yeah.
Okay, so total of 12 sticks of dynamite arranged into 3 separate bundles, and each one will have a timer that's a basic clock that basically you set the time and then set it going, and then when it hits 0, boom.
Question very briefly. What would you use as a skill to use that? Or is it just simply set the timer to what you like, sort of thing? Because I don't want to blow us all up if we're matched to something like.
It depends on how you use it. It would be demolitions to build a bundle like that.
Demolitions.
So if you had the individual components, it would be demolitions to put it together. But then it depends on how you want to use it. Then, if you were just say putting it, let's say, in a car, and then waiting for someone to come along, and then it boom goes the car, that's just no roll. You just put it there, set the timer, and leg it. But if you wanted to use it to, let's say, demolish a building, then that would be demolitions.
Okay.
It all depends on how the precise nature of what you want to do with it.
And demolitions is found under. I'm sorry, I'm just not seeing.
Because it's an optional skill. It's
Yes.
at the end after track.
Oh,
Yes.
okay.
Probably with a
Darn.
bundle of stuff.
Okay, I will not concern myself with that then.
There we go. Right. We begin our red line across the map then. So this is you going north of London out into Bedfordshire, and then the plane takes you over from Bedfordshire to Gibraltar. It takes about 7 hours. From Cairo, after a few hours layover, it's 10 hours to get to Cairo. So that is a long old haul. And then you arrive early afternoon local time as promised on Monday the 23rd. So what are people, this is mainly, don't need to spend too much time going over the detail here, but it gives an idea of the kind of thing that you might see in a film as a little montage sequence going. What things are people doing on the plane, or planes plural, on the way over?
In smoking. He's a sniper. He gets bored.
Jack will be drinking. He'll be going like this with his knife.
Mm-hmm.
And drawing. He'll be drawing.
I am reading a book that I checked out of the library, The Customs of Greece, so that I can blend in.
I'll be going over my before I have to shred them, the coded book of radio transmission communication codes, just to memorize them.
Gotcha.
I have a harmonica and a deck of cards. If I can lure anyone into a game, I'm very interested in small wagers over cigarettes or small change.
Absolutely. Pack of Lucky Strikes for me.
I would be happy to join in with whatever.
Okay. Couple of points then to expand on there, especially as Jack has whipped out his knife. This is something that the SOE have as a specialized piece of equipment that you have what is referred to as a Fairbairn Sykes Commando knife. These are quite specialist pieces of kit, and they're only generally available to SOE operatives. He's not quite doing the bishop kind of fingers yet then. Okay. And some things that Thelma will pick up then, reading through customs of Greece, particularly around this kind of time of year. The fasting period for Christmas is held between November 15th and December 24th, which is strictly kept in religious communities. There's no meat, dairy, or alcohol that's consumed in this period. Fish is allowed until December 17th, apart from on Wednesdays and Fridays. Main foods in this period are lentils, bean soup, and other pulses. You can also, in relation to food, you can give me a no roll. So you're edu.
Huh. What a waste. I got an 01 out of 90.
Oh, wow. Okay. You're aware in particular then that Greece has been facing a bit of difficulty in terms of food, because they are still in what will go down in history as known as the Greek Famine. That following the occupation of Greece by the Axis forces, means of transport were all severely limited. Fuel supplies, all means of transportation were confiscated and prevented food supplies reaching major urban areas. This led to a food shortage in the summer of 1941, and by winter this had become full-blown famine. The lifting of naval blockades in February 42 began to turn this around, but by the end of 1942, where you are now, the major ports were receiving steady food supplies. However, this grim food situation ultimately continues for quite some time. Rural areas are not so badly affected. It's the main urban centres where food just isn't getting to. So there are going to be meagre rations out there. Lots of people are rather hungry, and yeah, it's not a pretty situation. The death rate in urban areas, to put it in perspective, at the height of the famine, is pretty high, depending on which sources you're looking at. By December 41, it's between 300 and 1,000 people died each day.
Wow.
So yeah, it's not a small famine. It's like famine with a big F.
Horrible way to die as well.
But you say it depends on which source you consult as to what that figure ends up being. Also, some other stuff that's coming up, which if you're looking at the time of year where you are, November 25th is the name day of Saint Catherine of Alexandria. She was a princess, a scholar, and ultimately a martyr who converted hundreds to Christianity. And name days are a thing in Greek culture where they're almost more important than birthdays. They're certainly celebrated more than birthdays because everyone knows the date associated with each saint. So everyone in this case knows your name day. If you're born on November 25th, then if your name is Catherine or any derivative thereof, that's a big celebration for you. Normally it would involve houses being open to the locals and all the friends and neighbours. They each would come to visit, eat a sweet, leave a short while after that, after saying their congratulations and celebrations. But as it falls, this one would fall within the fasting period. There's not going to be any large feasts, but there might be music, there might be parties and kind of social gatherings. And typically the local priest will also visit the lady of the house and bless her at this time as well. So yep, you are picking up all the nice other intricacies of Greek culture around this time of year and putting it in context with some pretty horrific stuff going on in the rest of the country.
Cool.
All right, and you land eventually in Cairo. Because it's early afternoon, you've got plenty of time before you'll be picked up in the evening and then taken out to the airport and flown back across the Mediterranean. But when you arrive, the local liaison there confirms to you that the attack on the target has been given a set time to occur. It will take place at 2300 hours on Wednesday, November the 25th. So it's the end of 2 days away.
The 25th. So that's the same day as this big holiday.
St. Catherine's.
St.
Indeed.
Catherine.
It's not a particularly big holiday. It's just if your name is Catherine.
Now, now when we're informed of this information, we're in a secure area, or is this like just like a barracks room, or?
It's a small air, basically the airstrip that that you land at. That you're in the kind of meeting room, briefing area. That's at the base.
I'm just remembering the spy at the door and the guns and Aperon, so being a little paranoid.
This is a secure area. You are pretty certain that the only people that would really be able to realistically make use of this information as a spy are the 5 of you. So unless you don't trust any of your fellow party, that's a different issue.
And all of this transport is just we 5 going to meet these 2 groups. We're not part of a larger SOE transport.
No, you are the only group traveling together and the only one being dropped into that area at this time. Everyone else that's already been working on this for months is already there. So they're already well entrenched and already doing their own thing. Right.
First time in Cairo.
It's pretty warm. Even at this time of year, it's still hot.
And so many people and animals.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, indeed. They occasionally have to shoo them off the runway to make sure that they don't get hit as the planes take off. Right. Anyone? One thing that they will recommend is, because you are going to be up most of the night, that you're going to be dropped in there at around midnight and then have to do a 4.5-kilometer hike across mountains. They suggest you could probably get some rest now and sleep the rest of the day. But if you want to do anything else here, then this is your time to do it.
I'll just heed their advice.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I reckon a good sleep will do us all good.
Yeah, travel is tiring, and so is heat.
Yes, and we all want to be alert. So, and if any of us are tired, we want to be alert.
Oh, and I want to double check my communications equipment. I'm going with the radio, correct?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I'm double checking. I'm packing extra crystals and tubes. I'm making sure they're the correct crystals and tubes. I make sure again that they are the correct crystals and tubes, and I make them very safely packed. Then I go to bed.
And you'll be making sure they are very well padded as well, because the last thing you want to do is land on your back and then realize, oh, I've just cracked all of my very delicate equipment.
Exactly. So
you are taken on. See if I can find where my note is here. It's a very small plane that you are taken in. That it's because it's designed for dropping people off. It's not like taking massive amounts of equipment with you. So it's almost a single prop plane that gets you across the Mediterranean and then drops you over Mount Oeta just before midnight. As you are flying, as the sky gets progressively darker and darker, you start off almost at the bare minimum of light for taking off. You're not attacked on the way over. There's no anti-aircraft fire that you have to dodge and worry about. And as the time approaches, you can see that there's a signal fire that's lit just outside this town, like Owen Corey. And the pilot basically gives you the wave to say, out you go. And then it's time to drop through the air with the greatest of ease.
Love a good drop. Let's go.
Now, normally there are rules for parachuting. It would be a bit lame if you were to die parachuting in the first major scene of the scenario. So we're going to skip that. What I will ask for, though, is a luck roll. So if everyone wants to give me one of those.
Oh, wait a second. I have the wrong dice.
Oh god,
Oh, that's a fail.
that's a fail.
Oh, geez. That's a horrible fail.
Ooh.
That's a
My
pass.
six-
We're
my six-
scattered in the ocean.
In the
God.
trees. You're stuck up in the trees. I'm fine. I got a 20.
You find yourself being washed down the river and completely out of the area. Now, when you land, it basically happens with a bit of a bump. Those of you that hit the ground, find yourself basically getting bumped, bruised, and generally landing in a kind of indignant manner that you would prefer something a bit more graceful when you hit the ground. Those of you that succeed, you find you land pretty close to the signal fire, and you're able to then gather up your parachute and at least seemingly act like a professional. The others are maybe letting the side down a bit. All right, and the person that when you approach the signal fire that you see looks a little like this. And she is pretty stern-faced as her profile pic goes. She's dressed completely in black. She's carrying a rifle slung over one shoulder, and just for this kind of almost cold, detached look, but just waits for you to get your stuff together and bring your parachutes in and get to the signal fire. When everyone's finally there, she has 2 buckets next to her of sand and water that she just throws over the fire and extinguishes it. And you're left with the dark sky above you, and a starlight coming down and illuminating everything in a dim, silvery glow. She just starts walking away from the fire and says, "Follow me. Let's get the hell out of here."
Do we have flashlights or anything like that we can use, or do we just stay in the dark?
You can use them if you turn them on. She, obviously seeing the light, turns around and gives you a look and said, just let your eyes get accustomed to the dark. We don't want to bring any more attention to ourselves than what I'm potentially already done."
All right.
Then, not giving you daggers, she turns back and again continues marching on.
How I like it, just straight onwards.
Oh, she's direct, like a sledgehammer.
Pack up the equipment and start hauling up after her.
All right. In which case, after you've disposed of everything, of maybe burying parachutes and the like, you begin your hike across the mountain. Or let's go mountains. The thing with her is that while she's near this town, and that she's had a fire going for what she considers to be a relatively long time, she's not particularly impressed, especially at the gracelessness of some landing there. That she's been basically forced to hang around in a risky situation. She just wants to get the hell out of there and out into the wilderness where it's safer. And as time passes and she puts enough distance between the landing site and where she's going, she does actually visibly start to ease up. And she does become a bit less of a hard ass. So if anyone wants to ask her anything or strike up conversation, otherwise you can very easily just make the way over there in silence. It's completely up to you.
Is there snow on the ground or anything?
No, there isn't. It's cold, but it doesn't look as though it's been snowing in the last while.
So we can be trackless.
Right.
That's good. Yeah, I think we should be quiet and get where we are going.
Right. Once we're secure, then we can talk and chat and stuff.
Yes. Minimal lighting. Don't remember, even if you're tempted, don't turn on your lights.
Well, once you're out in the wilderness, there's enough, not quite cloudless sky, but definitely open sky and starlight. And to put it in for the moon perspective, there was a full moon on the 22nd, so you've got a relatively good bright night sky anyway. So it doesn't take long for your eyes to adjust, and you don't need the flashlights in the end. It's mostly over a fairly rugged, rocky terrain, and she is taking you well past any settlement here. So you are out in the complete wild wild lands here. No one's observing you. You could easily strike up conversation or even like hum or sing all your way here and no one would notice. Going over mountains, though, even a 4.5k trip, this is going to take you into about 6 a.m, she reckons, to get you there.
Question for the keeper. Did I receive any orders for communications back to base for confirmation of landing? Or
Yep, they will ask you to make a report at scheduled times.
Okay.
To say, it'll be in code as per normal, just to confirm you've arrived, confirm the situation, and basically give a sit rep report.
Got it. Okay.
All right.
Eagle to albatross. Eagle to albatross. Come in, albatross. The eagle has landed.
That's a different group that
Yeah,
refers to.
I think you find we've barely landed. Broke all your glass tubes already.
Okay. So you continue along. No one's striking up conversation with her at all.
Can you give us, speaking of sit rep, what's the situation here at the minute? Any news from We Departed?
Oh, she turns around, or turns to look at you while she's still walking. We've had a few problems. Yeah, it's you've got your work cut out for you at the base. We're in a small church, St. Michael's, just outside of Castelia, but the boys have been, well, I say boys, it's usually boys that cause this kind of trouble, have been fighting back and forth between themselves. We've had small acts of, well, the leaders are calling it sabotage. I think it's basically petty bickering back and forth. We've had some equipment stolen and found in rival faction stores. We did have an unrelated issue. We did have one of our patrols got killed recently as well. That was a couple of days back.
But that is not violence between the groups, no?
No, apparently the survivor that came back that she got pretty horribly cut up said that 3 of the guerrillas got killed by a bear.
I would not think this was the country for bear.
What, a ferocious bear as well?
As you've said that, give me an int roll.
A bear.
I rolled a 13, which is 1 away from extreme.
Hard success as well.
Both of you are fairly confident that Pierre's comment there was right. This isn't exactly bear country, and also a bear at this time of year and attacking people, that doesn't sound right.
Yeah, she would not have a cub, and there are 2 people. This sounds most strange to me. Madame Marguerite, you are from a city?
Myself, yes. I'm from more urban areas. I grew up in Lamia. Before the war, I used to work as a waitress on the Alberg Orient Express, so running the routes up to Germany. But that's a long time ago now. And some of us have lost quite a bit because of this war.
We are not finished yet, I fear.
There's more to come.
Indeed. And she almost takes on this kind of almost melancholy look. She just almost stares into the distance as she walks. She's evidently, it doesn't require a psychology roll. She's lost someone close to her, and it hurts.
And Madam, your compatriot who was killed by the bear strange as it seems. From which of the guerrilla groups was this party?
Oh, they're from the left.
Mm,
The ELAS.
I see, yeah. Well, I am from France, and my colleagues here are English. And the French and the English do not always get along. But when it's time to fight with the Alemannia or the Italian, we must be as one. No.
Yes, we must unite.
Hmm. Indeed, some of us see it that way. I just wish all of us saw it that way.
Well, there's always hope.
Yeah, she kind of almost does an ironic. Huh,
Yeah, he
I
kind
might
of
not agree with you.
he kind of also said his own comments. So he always said it like he doesn't believe what he said anyway. So.
Okay. It gets a bit rough terrain over this 6 hours. It's not just a stroll in the park. You do start to feel the kind of the strain by the time you get to the outskirts of the village. And indeed, at 6 a.m., it's not quite light yet. Sunrise is at 7:15, so it's still dark when you arrive. And the looming structure of this almost derelict church starts to appear as this outline above the dark sky. It doesn't seem like there's anyone here at first, but then you realize as you start to approach over the level ground coming in through the trees that there is a small camp that has been set up around the back of the church. You also see there's a number of vehicles parked here. There's a fuel dump, so there's lots of barrels of fuel that are piled up. There's also what seem to be temporary structures like sheds, where there evidently would be storage, where there are guards which are manning them. And you are led through to the church itself, where inside she opens up the big front set of doors. There's a couple of men who are waiting by candlelight, making sure that there's no chance of the light being seen from the outside. And the two men that you are introduced to are here. So Vasilios is the younger of the two men by quite a way. You think he's probably in his mid-20s, perhaps. He's got an air of authority about him. He definitely feels like a commander or an authority figure. Mihail is a much larger, much older, more weathered and rugged figure. He's in his 40s, you'd think, or maybe even early 50s. He's leaning on a quite sturdy metal cane. Evidently, he has a wounded leg, which it seems that he is it's quite stiff and makes it a bit more difficult for him to walk. But again, there is a certain bearing about him that it looks like he is, again, an authority figure. The two men, as you come inside, move forward and basically both extend hands at pretty much the same time for you to shake. And it's Vasilios that speaks up first. It says, "Welcome. You be our friends from England, yes?"
Yes, pleasure to make your acquaintance.
Pleasure. He shakes your hand quite firmly and introduces himself. Say, I'm the leader of the ELAS, and this is my counterpart, Mihail, the EDES first in command. We thought it would be only polite to welcome you at this rather unsociable hour, and let you know that we are very much happy that you're here. We've got rooms put aside for you at the back of the church, where the vestry will be out the back. I'm sure you'd be understanding here that it is very basic accommodation that we have put aside for you. Given the trip you've had, we perfectly understand if you just want to get your heads down and get some sleep. So we suggest that we meet properly, and I introduce you to everyone else at call it 10 o'clock later on this morning. So give you a chance to get about 4 hours sleep.
That works. Do you have a location of the nearest Axis forces?
They are down the train line to the south of us. They primarily, if they are going to be passing nearby here, they would be passing south to north. The area of which you're in, Castelia is set in a valley, so it rises to the north, to the south, and to the west. To the east, it's the main valley floor, and then the train line is a few miles outside of town to the east, running south-north. And there is pretty much a single road that gets you out that way.
Good to know.
Mhm.
Good to know.
And from the church, can we see the sleepy village of Castelia in the early morning?
If you were to get a high enough vantage point, it is quite a way outside of town. It would actually be about a half an hour walk to get from here to then get into the town. So they are quite a distance away, hence them trying to keep a very low profile. This church being deserted and ruined, it hasn't been used in years, is quite typical of a lot of places you'll find around here in the kind of rural Greek area. Old temples, old ancient Greek sites, ruins dotted all over the place, and they just keep adding to it with even more monasteries and churches that get built and just get lost in time.
Blend right in then.
A great observation point would be church steeples. Is the one here intact, or is that ruined and fallen?
Greeks
No,
don't
it's
normally
intact.
have steeples. They usually have
they don't?
domes.
Oh, just domes. Oh, okay. Not.
It's a tower with the dome on top.
Got it.
But yeah, you could get up there, and then you would have at least a better vantage point than being on the ground.
Okay, excellent.
Right, this again, Vasilios. I will let you get bedded in, and I will see you again at 10 o'clock.
Pleasure to
Will
meet
do.
you. We will
Thank you,
speak
gentlemen.
soon.
Yes, thanks for the welcome.
Okay.
Thank you.
Nice.
Bye.
Mikhail, he hasn't really said much. You just get the occasional sideways glance that he gives Vasilios. He is not. He evidently is not particularly impressed with the younger man. And so he bids you good night, and they both head on out. Tassia also then says, well, I'll let you get bedded down. I'll show you to your room, and then I'm going to go and hit the sack as well. So she takes you through round the back to the back of the church, where there's a handful of private rooms there, and there's one that's been set aside for you down a short corridor. There's 6 to 8 cot beds that have been set up here. Not exactly, as I said, luxurious, but it's comfortable to sit down on and then fall asleep fairly quickly after you've stashed equipment under the beds and then presumably not locked to the door. There's no lock on it, but there's a latch. And I presume everyone then heads off to sleep.
Yeah, well, I'll say thank you, Tassia, and see you in a few hours, I guess.
Indeed, I will. I'll be one of those that are out on patrol quite a bit. We have regular shifts that we take going around the area, so I'm going to be out and about.
Well, if any of you require any assistance, I'm sure any of us won't mind helping out on a patrol.
Oh, I certainly won't object. I normally either go out with one or none people. We do solo patrols every so often
Wow.
between people, just so we can cover more ground.
Solo is easier sometimes because you can hide quicker.
Indeed,
Yes.
indeed.
I know that path.
No, I do like to
Yeah.
get to know a new terrains, though. So I think this is a useful thing.
All right. Just
Well.
prepare a little bit.
Good night, Tassia. Well, good morning, good night. And good night, gentlemen and ladies. Everyone try to get a few hours sleep. You'll need it.
Good night. Sleep well.
She does actually smile at the sleep type, but then it's almost as if she like catches herself for thinking you shouldn't be smiling. Get back to being serious. And she just smile vanishes and she just nods and heads on out. 4 hours pass really quick when you're tired, and you are awoken by a knock at the door. That as your eyes start to become accustomed, light is coming in through the semi-barred windows, and the door creaks open into the room, and a man pokes his head inside. He doesn't really smile as such, but he almost like he's acting like a waiter or some kind of butler. He comes in, says, "Gentlemen, gentlemen and ladies, whenever you're ready, we have a meeting out in the church."
Right.
All right. Give us a couple of minutes and we'll be right there.
No problem. And he shuts the door behind him. As you are getting ready, you can hear the sound of people yelling in Greek. There apparently seems to be a bit of a heated argument taking place inside the main body of the church, and it's echoing to where you are here. If anyone has Greek, you can give me a roll. If not, obviously don't worry about it.
I was going to ask, can any of you understand a thing they are saying?
Not a word. Not a word.
Nope.
We should probably get there quickly because that could be the left and the right having a bicker session.
Very true.
Remember, too, why we are here for other reasons as well.
Exactly.
Well, yeah. But it doesn't have to get a little bit cozier with the two sides. It might help us a bit more.
Right, you get yourself changed and get and head on in, and you find that there's a table that's set up pretty much in the middle of the church where they've moved pews away from it, so they've got an area to talk. This is where they've laid out a map of the local area, so this seems to be like the planning or the equivalent of their war room. And you've got the two gentlemen that you met earlier that morning in a not quite full-blown argument, but definitely there's a lot of finger pointing. There's a lot of very heated discussion going on here, and the occasional it does always go up to a scream, but a yell. They are pretty angry at each other. So besides them, there are a few other people that are in here. So on the side with the ELS leader, Vasilios, you have this, what could only be described as a very dodgy looking character. He just radiates kind of an aura of that he's a hard guy. He's a you wouldn't be surprised if he was like a career criminal. He kind of radiates that aura of not playing by the rules. I mean, his hair's greasy, very rugged face, scars, and his uniform is a bit disheveled and threadbare, to say the least. And then next to him is actually quite a nice, well, I even would say beautiful lady, Georgia, who is just sitting, well, not sitting, but just standing back and watching intently and not saying anything. Besides them, you've got Ionis that you've already met. He takes his place behind the man mountain who had the cane that you saw. And beside him is Anastasia. That she looks somewhat maybe slightly anxious about what's going on, but again is just standing slightly off to one side and is watching what happens with a degree of tension on her face.
What's this? What's this dispute about? What's going on? What's the differences?
Okay. Vasilios turns to you, at which point says, you're here in English. We should accommodate our guests. Don't you agree?" He very pointedly says to the other side of the table. And large guy turns around to Mihail, turns to say, "Apparently we had an incident last night that we've just been made aware of, that this petty back and forth of just ruining equipment or playing with our with our equipment, with our supplies, with our vehicles is becoming intolerable. Just because you have this misapprehension, he points at Vasilios, saying that we think that you are not capable, does not give you the right to go up and slash the brake lines on our trucks. And this counterpoint goes back and forth. This goes back and forward like a ping pong match, saying we didn't do it, you did this to make it look, and then pinning the blame on us just to make us look bad. And you're getting almost the impression it's almost like a childlike squabbling going back and forth between them.
If you'll excuse a stranger, my friends, who is known to none of you and who knows none of you, but has no opinion in this fight. We are in a situation of great danger, and there are many factions. Is it possible that there is not one side attacking the other, but someone, a mole in either group, who is sabotaging you both, trying to prevent this mission from success? No?
Oh, both of them look, they almost like get their back up at this and are suggesting, you're suggesting that we are compromised. I mean, all our members, all our crew are loyal. This is almost outrageous.
But it is the easiest way to get to infiltrate. It's the best way to split, divide people more, have people on the inside, divide and conquer.
We can. One of the second steps forward, Ionis, and says, "We have handpicked our team here. All of the operatives here have served with the resistance," and he looks across to his counterpart on both sides for a significant period of time. There are no traitors here, not on our side of the table. And that criminal-looking guy Yanni just glares at him as if he was on the verge of leaping across the table and ripping his throat out. He just looks furious.
Could there be somebody here, not necessarily here right now, but somebody in the area that's doing this in the middle of the night?
Yes. Someone you least expect.
Well, somebody who we might not even be aware of.
Yes.
In other environments, it's I mean, Gestapo agents have done similar tactics to break up other resistance cells.
We're so far away from the town that it can't be anyone from there. The only people around here are ourselves and now yourselves. That whoever's doing this is here, but we are absolutely certain that none of our group would betray ourselves, and certainly do anything so frankly stupid.
Yes, it is such a dangerous act.
Are there any animals that can do this kind of damage in the area?
One of the translators, Anastasia, the one on the right side, says that we have had reports of dangerous animals in the area. We lost three gorillas a few days ago, back on the 20th, I believe it was, to a bear attack. Yeah, Friday the 20th, to a bear attack. So there are known wild animals out there, but we haven't seen any come close to the camp. We have regular patrols that go around here, so we are fairly well defended.
Well, is there a way that we can better secure the vehicles so that nobody can get to them to damage them?
Short of placing more guards, but then that will take away from our forces doing patrols in the wider area that give us alert if there's any Italian incursion.
Well, you're both on two different political sides, but you're both Greek, and this is about stopping the Italians and ultimately the Germans from invading and taking over your country, or getting it back from them. And you need to work together, and then later on you can work out your political differences.
Yeah.
But I think I believe you. Somebody else, this kind of sabotage seems so silly. You wouldn't sabotage each other in this way because it would keep you from doing exactly what we're here to do.
We all support one another.
Mihail pipes up. and says that, yeah, it is petty, very small, petty, childlike acts. We've had our radio was disabled with key components removed, but we have spares, so it was very, very quickly repaired. We've had supplies go missing, like flares and lights that have just disappeared entirely. But also ammunition that's been stolen recently and then found in the rival stores for the other side. But it's hitting both of us. It's almost like a tit for tat. It's childish and it's so frustrating.
There must be a snake in the grass. There must be something that we're missing.
Yeah, it sounds like, by what you're telling us, it sounds like they're trying to get you agitated.
Exactly.
They're succeeding.
Maybe it's best to try and avoid giving them the satisfaction of it.
We could. How many are in this room? It's just the leaders and their translator and right-hand man?
Yep, so 6 in total, 3 on each side.
Well, if we just keep it amongst ourselves, we could try setting a trap, perhaps, just to see if there is somebody that's maybe not part of either group, but are aware, and they're trying to get us pitted against one another. This is ultimately benefiting the Axis forces.
Okay.
And that needs to stop.
Tom and Jack are experts at camouflage and hiding, and they could be themselves the trap to catch somebody trying to do something.
We could set up some of our spare equipment as great bait for this.
Okay, they do pause. Both of the leaders look at each other across the table. You've done this as pretty much of a group. Everyone's kind of chipped in with something here. Whoever has the largest persuade can give me a roll.
My persuade is 75.
What?
Wow.
I have 15, so you're beating.
Yeah, I have 15 as well.
Yeah, I got 39.
Wow.
That is
Nice.
2 points from a hard. Should I make it a hard?
Regular's fine.
Okay.
Save your luck for other stuff that might be coming.
Yeah.
They look at each other, and there is this moment of understanding that passes between them, and they both look in your direction. And it's Vasilios that speaks first, and nodding, he says, "I will fully admit that I gave you a somewhat political or diplomatic welcome last night. I have my reservations about your presence here. I believe that it's more," and he looks across the table at the other at his counterpart, that there is an inclination towards the right rather than the left, and that we are seen as a bit lacking or not able to hold our own. But you make a very valid point, and if you are prepared and have the expertise to pull this off, I think that getting rid of this snake in the grass, as you put it, would benefit everyone. He looks again to his counterpart. Agreed? And he just says, agreed.
And I think that you need to at least bury the hatchet for a while. And then based on stuff that I've read in my Customs of Greece, I'm going to ask them about their families.
Oh, okay.
Because once they start talking about their families and then they know each other's information, they really can't be complete enemies anymore. It's
right. You get them to open up a bit then about themselves, their families, their history. None of them are particularly family people. It seems like they've left a lot of that behind when they've joined the resistance, or it's been taken away by the war. But you get to know a little bit more about some of them. Vasilios, you learned, was a student of politics before the war. So again, when you said about being a diplomatic response and the way he carries himself, it kind of makes sense of how you've seen him act. That he's very much a diplomat first, or politician first, a soldier second. Yanni doesn't really say much about himself. He just says that he's grown up having to do what it takes to survive, and that the war's just another day for him. It's not really anything different. Georgia says that she was a journalist before the war, and worked in a newspaper in Athens. So she's travelled all over Europe. She's never had anyone as like a significant other that's kind of held her down and kept her in the local area. She's been free to move wherever she wants. So she is quite knowledgeable and well travelled. Mihail, he had 10 years of service in the army before the war, but got honourably discharged after a training accident, injured his right foot, hence him walking with the cane. Again, nothing particularly in terms of family. He's not married. He hopes to be, though. He does say that he hopes when this whole conflict is over that he can finally settle down and get back to a normal life. Ionis was a member of the Hellenic gendarmes, so he was effectively a policeman or a constable before the war began. Which again, with his kind of the way he carries himself, that suddenly becomes a bit more obvious. That he has that bearing and he has that look of always watching everyone around him, and he has a kind of suspicious nature.
Yeah, we can relate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you do find maybe a bit of camaraderie with him. It sounds there's definitely common ground between the two of you.
Yeah.
Well, I'm hoping that by doing this, I open up a little camaraderie, at least between all of them, so that they can be less.
Oh yeah, definitely. With your successful role, this is definitely that's the intention you wanted. That's the result you get. That they do all seem to be more relaxing and talking as friends rather than rivals. So ignoring their politics while they talk to the people rather than the.
I can break out the ouzo.
Yeah, well, bear in mind this time, obviously, booze not permitted in the fasting, so they will appreciate the gesture, but they observe religious practices.
Well, the right wing, they're communists, aren't they?
Oh no, right wing are more towards the not quite fascist, but
I mean the left wing. Sorry,
yeah, the left wing is more communist.
Yeah.
I think that's actually the Communist Party that put out the call to arms to encourage national resistance at the beginning of the war.
I got them switched around.
Yeah. Easy done. I forget which of the acronyms relates to which group every so often. So.
All right.
The last one, Anastasia, just mentioned that she was a secretary at a multinational shipping company in Patra. So again, no brothers, no sisters. That she hasn't really lost anyone in the war so far, but she's seen enough people get killed along the way in the group in the EDES that she just wants this whole thing to be over. Right, and there's definitely a more getting to know you, maybe burgeoning friendships occurring here, and it does seem a bit more of a cohesive group thanks to your little chat.
Well done, Thelma. Hi.
Well, it's perfectly fine for them to be rivals, but they can now be friends and rivals, and that way they're working for a common cause.
So true.
Right. So this is Mihail turning to you again. So, what do you intend to do? What kind of trap do you want to set?
Well, gentlemen, do you think that Jack and Tom, you can stake the place out maybe from opposite ends of the camp and keep your eyes open from the shadows and see if you find somebody sneaking around cutting tires? And
let's see if we can find a good vantage spot.
We could also set a trap so that most of us are over here, so that most of the shadows are over here, which would be the most likely place for the snake to attack.
Well,
good thinking.
We could in an area that looks semi-secure, so it would be believable. We could empty our couple of grenade cases out and just put rocks or bricks in for weight, and then set them down, sort of create a small collective ammo stockpile that
Make
looks
it look like that. Yeah.
Yeah, it sort of looks secure. It's not right out in the open to where it's obviously a trap. But
Now, of course, there's only one possible flaw, and now I'm talking to you privately, and the flaw is that the saboteur is someone in this room.
That is true.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
That might tell us something too, if nothing happens.
That is a risk, but it might enlighten us, I should say.
If we have a detailed plan, and that detailed plan is thwarted, then the saboteur's in this room.
If we have a detailed plan, also when we are in private, we change one component of this plan, and only we from.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I am also a man who is very difficult to find in the nighttime, and a watchful observer. So perhaps if we find 3 positions, then we are all have eyes on us, on the target, but also an angle we see. But my new friends, I have also a question about your compatriots who were killed by a wild animal.
Oh yes.
Did you bury the bodies?
By the time we did a detachment out there, the only survivor of the patrol, one of our counterparts, and this is again Mihail gesturing to the other side of the table, the EL the ELAS, one of their scouts, Alexis, she was the only person to make it back. She's been very hideously disfigured as a result of the attack with the bear. That she informed us where the site was that the attack took place, but by the time we got back there, apart from finding a large amount of blood on the ground and scraps of clothing, that the bodies are already been taken away by the bear.
And she has had some treatment, I hope, says Alexis.
As best we can do. And she's not. It's quite bad. She's lost an eye. She's going to have scars down her face for life. It's quite tragic for someone who was actually quite a pretty young lady.
And she was sure it was a bear.
Well, that's what she said. I think when she got something up close and personal enough to take an eye out, that she would know what she saw.
Knows what she saw, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, sometimes some things are so terrifying that you picture it as something else.
Did it happen at night or in the daytime?
It was at night.
Was it at night?
Most of our patrols go out at night. I mean, we'd still do patrol during the day, but we obviously have a lesser presence just so that it's not as obvious.
Is there also in this part of your country, do you have the wolf?
Not that I'm aware. We haven't seen or heard any wolves.
They've probably been hunted almost to extinction. I would like to go out and take a look at the damaged vehicles to see if it looks like a knife blade did the damage, or if it looks like something scratched it or slashed it.
Okay. I won't put that down to a roll because it is quite obvious just by looking at the nature of the cut. You've already identified what is either one or the other, and it's very much, it looks like a knife cut.
So it is a person, probably. Okay.
Obviously, there is no tradition in this area of the wild man of the woods who lives in an hermitage and...
Well, that happens everywhere in Greece, but they're monks. They're Christian monks. They don't attack people, or they usually avoid people like the plague.
Well, and so, but perhaps if one of these wild monks goes unwell, and then there are the people in the church, and he's offended and wants to make them go away. So he comes down at night, very secret, and uses his cheese knife to cut the tube and cut the tire and move one thing.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Quite possibly.
You're having this discussion with the other guys still there as well, yeah?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
Yeah. Vasilios will pipe up that. Well, I came here back in September to do a recruitment drive. So I came into town and tried to muster up support from the locals. And doing a survey of the area at that point, we didn't find any residency outside of town. No one lives, as far as we can tell, no one lives out on on either of the mountains. I mean, there are a couple of nearby towns. You've got Gravia, that's fairly close to the south, but that's the only other nearest population to here. There's no private residences or monasteries. Well, there's the ruins of a monastery up on the slopes of Mount Oeta, but there's nowhere to live there. It's just ruin. It's one of the reasons we did scout out the area initially to find a place where we could set up camp. We quickly discounted it for in favor of here because A, this place has a roof, and B, that one doesn't. It's just
right.
Also,
How far was that from where we landed in the night?
It's closer to the town. It's like maybe an hour or so to the north of Castelia itself. It's not anywhere near where you were dropped.
Also, the problem is there could be people out there. If they know what they're doing, people can hide, and unless you know what you're really looking for, they could stay hidden. They could be out
That's
there.
true. We'd expect they'd probably be on the move, that there would be in tents then, because there's certainly no structures around here where they could hide.
Well, if they're trained, well, I say not trained, anyone can master that art of hiding, but it might be worth.
Well, very true, very true.
Yeah, investigating a little bit more.
I'd like to hope that we aren't up against a as formidable or trained an opponent.
Well, therein lies the problem. If we are being sabotaged by somebody in the Italian army, then our entire operation is already compromised. They know that we're here.
Yeah, if it's a counterintelligence operation, that's serious.
But if it's some crazy person, then at least we've still got a good chance.
But we need to be clear about what happens if we should discuss this beforehand. If we catch someone from one party or the other, what will be done to them? Don't want to come into a situation where we catch somebody and they're from a particular party, and then expectations from one side I don't want to see that get ugly.
We play fair, I guess.
Yeah.
I think both sides are aware that there's a possibility that there might be a mole. And I think if you grab a member of their top people, why were they doing this? Their own people are going to be angrier than anybody else.
Yeah.
But
This betrayal is very significant, and it's not as though this individual could be set loose to run into the countryside and talk to the Italians. So I think it would be a very dire crime to be discovered.
And privately, I'm going to say to everybody, and then what about the other thing? Do we need to find out more about this religious stuff that's going on? Should we ask these people?
I don't see why not, but I'm probably a bit discreetly bring it up. I'm probably not the best for that. You might be easier getting information from us. So.
I'm still not so sure that it's not somebody from the village, even though the village is far away.
This
People
is a
who live-
reasonable concern.
People who live out in the country are used to walking long distances, so
Very true. Very true.
They have horses, they have mules, they have means of traveling.
I
They
can
never,
say as
they
well
never
that
land as well.
there are neighbors and relatives of mine in France who welcome the Axis powers. So if someone in this village wants the Italians to be happy, then maybe they have reasons for subterfuge.
Right.
But
Very
as to the
true.
question of discussing with Las and Edes the strange church, yeah, I think, Thelma, you have become our expert on Greek culture. You should put it to them.
Right.
I do like your idea, Pierre, of the second unknown element of the trap. I'm wondering if we should let this is again just between us, the five of us, if the actual ammunition grenades might be told to just the leaders that are here. We'll have them in a sack in our room, but then actually have maybe Pierre, you could be keeping an eye on that to see if someone comes in to actually try to snag all of that instead. And then we'd know it's one of the leaders that are doing this.
Yeah, I mean, among 6 people who know each other well, it is not impossible that one is a liar. We will think on it. That is, yeah, but something like this is good. I agree. And with our new friends, I will ask, obviously, our plan to lay a trap for a snake is private among us. Do we need to tell your people something about our behavior? And what do you want to show us of your operation while we have daylight and wait to set this all up?
Sure. Yanni, the criminal-looking guy, steps forward and says, "I can show you around. That's certainly not a problem or issue. And I've already got a few ideas of how we can deal with this snake when we find them." He just pulls out his gun and cocks the hammer back, and then cocks it, lets it release again. So I don't think there's any other discussion that needs to be done on that matter. But yeah, I can definitely show you around. Won't take long. There's not many of us here in comparison to operations I'm sure you're used to. And he looks to basically see who's coming with him. Are you coming as a group, or are you is it just Pierre?
I will probably stay back. With
I'll stay back as
others.
well.
I'll go with Pierre.
Okay. In which case, the two of you set off. You go outside. He basically does a long circle around the church and the camp that they've got set up. So you've got on opposing sides of the church, so the long length of the church, you have the left wing camp on one side and the right wing camp on the other. And then their kind of shared store area is in the middle at the back of the church, which is where they've got their line of trucks, that evidently people carriers that will how they got everyone here in the first place and all their equipment. And then a couple of huts where they've got equipment storage. One of them is very much in each grouping looks like an ammo store, and another one looks like an equipment store. So that it's very easy to tell what's where. And then so this communal fuel dump right in the middle. As you are walking around, you can give me spot hidden rolls.
Oh, nice. Oh, wait a minute. What is my spot hidden? Oh, yeah. Oh, it's a hard. Yeah, I made a hard pass there.
That is good. I did not.
Right. As you are passing around, you're getting an idea of the kind of numbers of people here, at least in terms of the tents, because there's obviously not everyone is here. You reckon there's probably between 30 and 50 people in this force. So there's a good old number here. And crawling out, well, not crawling, kind of coming out from one of the tents, stooped over, and then bringing herself up to her full grand height of about all of 5'6", is almost certainly the lady that was mentioned as being the survivor from the bear attack. Yes, she is looking a little worse for wear.
Oh, geez. Oh, the poor lady.
Yeah, you can see these bloody bandages, which have maybe been on her face for a couple of days now. So you can see the edge of the claw marks from the bear that go straight over her eye. Her eye, almost certainly, given where that strike went, is gone. That there's just this bloody mass that remains underneath.
Do we have
her nose.
do we have our translator with us?
Yeah, you can have. Which of the two translators would you like to have brought? The left wing or the right wing one?
I think because we know that because Tasia told us it was the left wing who were attacked, we should bring Georgia with us.
Yep. So the former journalist. Yep, she can quite happily come along with you. Close that there.
Miss, we can. We have fresh bandages. We are trained. It would be a good idea for us to change those bandages out.
She, you can see with her one remaining eye that looks at you, that she almost starts welling up. That you can almost see tears starting to form, and she mutters and stutters slightly. That well, thank you for your concern. I would appreciate it if I did that by myself. I don't want people to see what's under here. It's hard enough as it is. I don't need people kind of staring at me and seeing that. So I can replace them myself. If you've got them, thank you for the offer. But if you do have clean bandages, I can apply them myself.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, we have in fresh alcohol. But if you don't mind my saying so, sometimes in a mirror, it can be difficult to notice everything. So if you feel confident, of course, you should do as your heart says. But you should not fear any judgment from us. We have all seen difficult things.
Yeah, we've seen a lot worse instances.
She kind of nods, and she's barely holding back crying at this point. You can see a tear, at least one tear, start to roll down her face. Says, I need to get through this myself as well. I've got to live with this.
Yes, and you shall live with it and overcome it, and the memory of the thing that happened. We all have things that we are only we are in a long dark tunnel of violence and pain, and we will fight on and see the best of it in the end. It has not been long since the attack upon you and your friends happened. It is a sign of your strong will and character that you are taking care of yourself and about. I am very, very anxious about the creature that attacked you also. If there's anything you can tell us about what happened, it might bring a comfort to me or help us find a way to prepare.
Well, as I've told the others, it was a bear. I mean, big, hairy, clawed. It literally appeared out of nowhere. We were on the north side of the valley, and we were coming back. We were on our way back here, and I don't know whether Stephanos he tripped or that he caught this thing or made some kind of noise, but he must have provoked it, trying to skewer it with his bayonet, and it just went mad. And it tore them apart. Like, Stephanos was the closest thing I had left to family, and I saw him get torn apart. This thing just ripped him open like a wet paper bag.
Mamselle, I'm so sorry you had to witness such a thing.
Can I do a psychology check on her? Is she like exaggerating this? Is she keeping something from us?
Give me a psychology roll.
Boom, that is a hard. That is a 22 on my 70.
Okay. You are pretty confident then that she has suffered immense psychological trauma. She is not exaggerating. It's no hyperbole in what she is saying at all.
Okay.
But she is holding something back.
What is that? What is she holding back?
Mamselle, your friend was Stephanos. The others who were killed?
Yeah.
How were they called?
1 second. Commercial break. I need to find the box. Oh, here we go. Yeah, they were also members of our team. Men I've worked with for a long time now, scouting the area. There's Leonidas Spiros and Thanisis Katasaros. They were again similar to my poor Stephanos. That they tried to save him. They tried to pull him away, but they got too close, and the thing just descended on him. It tore out their throats with its jaws, and slit their bellies open with its claws. There's so much blood.
Do you know? And you saw it also clearly because this was the night when the moon was full.
Yes, yeah. Shortly before it, the 20th. So 2 nights before the full moon.
Yeah,
Close enough.
Too bright. Oh, you have been through so much. You are very brave, very strong.
Do the scars across her eye extend outside of the bandage?
They certainly do on her forehead. You can see the claw marks going underneath.
Okay.
They don't extend below the lower end of it, but they do over her forehead, and it looks pretty aggravated.
Okay. All right. So it's not like there's a bandage, but we don't see any scars anywhere else.
Oh no, God, no! Her forehead has been torn open,
okay.
almost to the bone. There are stitches as well that are kind of holding this in that you can see being very frantically put in.
Perhaps, Mamselle, if we know that this killing animal is there to the north, we can go and find it and avenge your friends.
I would like that. I don't kill innocent animals. I grew up on a farm. I've been with animals all my life, and I just don't want that happening to anyone else.
No, indeed. Who is safe from creatures that can attack 4 humans in a moment and do cause such carnage? Terrible.
Yeah, she just looks down at the ground and nods.
I shall see to it, madame, and we will send fresh alcohol and bandage.
Yeah, she She basically said that my tent's over here, so feel free to just leave it if I'm not there. Georgia leans in at this point and whispers in English, "Yeah, I think we'd probably best leave her. She's been pretty fragile for the last few days, understandably."
Oh, of course.
Right. Otherwise, you are shown around. So Yanni continues his his circuit around the church, and there's not exactly much beyond that to tell. So you've seen all the highlights, and he brings you back to the church to the others. So what are the others doing while this tour's going on?
Well, I have taken Tom outside. We just stood outside.
Okay.
I'm taking a drink, and I pass it to Tom. I have my flask. It's got whiskey, and I just go to Tom. I've heard a lot of good things about the Greek women, but that Georgia, I know it's not the time, but
It's my job to look out, but not for that thing, buddy.
Tom,
Stick to the
come
mission.
on. You're not.
I will take some of that whiskey off you, though.
That's fine. I miss my old crew.
So what do you make of this? What do you
Interesting.
what's your theory?
Well, if it's not one of them who's doing all this, it's and it's not one of the villagers, it's probably a very trained crazy person, which is the worst kind of crazy person. And also that bear attack. Bears here? No sense.
I don't know much about wildlife, but I tell you, that's one aggressive bear. How many people did he attack? Four soldiers?
And 3 died.
Yeah, it's not normal.
Because me and you, if we got attacked by a bear, yes, it might get me, but you'd be able to kill it.
Or vice versa, yeah.
Yeah, same. Also, just to note, I do have my normal standard camo gear and all that stuff, so if we require it, if we want to be a little bit more stealthy, we can go proper camouflage.
Are there any, like, is the land around like relatively flat, or are there any hillocks or anything like that?
It does slightly undulate. I mean, it's mostly woodland that surrounds the church, but then it slopes up to the left and right. Well, so the north and south rather. It's just your vantage point. It's left and right.
Well, Jackie boy, do you fancy going for a walk around the perimeter just to get a better feel for the place?
Yes, it's probably a good idea, and if it's just us two and none of the left or the right, it might be better. We might not have any of them trying to whisper any ideas into our heads.
Yeah, we might spot something as well. We'll be a lot less distracted with the chit chat.
And get to know how tall the trees are, and how sturdy they are, because one of us could, or you, more specifically, could set up in a tree.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. Well, I don't know. Like, I think that it's one of the it's either someone from the left or the right. I don't think there's anyone from outside doing this.
Well, only time will tell. We can speculate, but we won't know the truth.
Yeah.
Until...
I guess we just walk around the perimeter then, Matt.
Yeah, look for strategic positions.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like they've had the same idea before you, that there are definite areas where it seems that they've found that there's maybe slightly rocky areas where there's a bit more of a vantage point, that there's areas where the trees are maybe a bit more clumped, where there's vegetation which is a bit more again dense, and that these are places where you can see footprints are all over the place, where people have evidently stopped on patrol, where people have been stationed as guards and outposts around here. So yeah, you get the impression that this, even though that there's this bit of friction that's happening here, that at least some people in the group are competent, because they have been able to identify the key places that you also would say this is a good place to have someone stationed, this is a good place to have someone stationed. But otherwise, nothing strikes you as being out of the ordinary or ominous or anything like that.
Okay.
Just polish off this flask then. There's nothing else to do.
Yeah, well, I have another one, so pulls out the other flask.
Okay. And what's Thelma doing back at the church?
Thelma is just in general trying to make sure everyone is staying, not fighting and making whatever plans they need to make.
Mm-hmm.
So she's
Yep,
sort of facilitating that.
They're making sure, so they're going over basically their supplies, making sure that everything is accounted for, doing checks on the trucks again to make sure there's nothing else they've missed previously. Otherwise, it seems like it's business as usual, that they're getting everything ready and to make sure that they can move at a moment's notice.
I'm also trying to find out exactly what's being planned. Are we, whatever they're planning to allow Project, I forget the name,
Operation Harling
to go through. And then in the process, if I'm going to start to talk about distractions, and then in the middle of distractions, I said, well, are there any religious festivals or things like that will be, come up that we can use as an excuse or
that'll be happening? Well, this is Vasilios will pipe up. Well, we've been a little concerned by the let's say the what's the word in English? The enthusiasm of an ally of ours in the village, the local priest Stathis Iordino, that he has been gathering the locals together in congregation, and we think that he is, because he knows we're here. There are 3 key members of the local community, Katina, Gregorius, and Stathis, that know of our presence here. Otherwise, that no one else in the village, no one else should know that we're here.
And you don't suspect that they would in any way be disloyal, or they're trustworthy as far as you're concerned?
Oh yes, definitely. There is a little bit of reluctance for our presence here, that the local constable, Gregorius,
Do you need a moment? Yeah. A drink of water.
I have no idea what happened there. Fair enough. Yes, the local constable, Gregorius, I think he's worried for the villagers, that he's concerned by the proximity of our presence, that if we're found here, that he doesn't want any of the villagers caught in the crossfire. And Katina is very much of a similar mindset. Katina is the local school teacher. We have a fairly good school, and even a library in the village as well. As Gregorius is the constable, and Stathis the local priest, the head of the church, that he would rather we stay as far away as possible from the village and not go in. So this Stathis, when we first came here, like I said, I did my recruitment drive back in September. Stathis very publicly declared his support for the cause, for the left-wing cause. And I think he, like you say, he's getting a little preemptive, almost celebrating before the operation goes down.
Hmm.
But yes, we are. We wish he would dial it down a bit, or tone it down a bit.
And you say that he is very enthusiastic for the left-hand side.
Hmm.
That I would have thought that the Orthodox would be rather conservative and be more on
Well,
the
yes.
right-hand side.
In general, yes, it's he is a again, how do you say it? An unusual person in that respect. He is more open-minded than the stereotype might suggest.
And there didn't seem to be any. Well, you've obviously been there. You've met him.
Oh yeah, I met him back in September. Like I said, in the recruitment drive, I stood up in the town square. I was outside the church, and vocalized about how we need to gather together, how we need to work together, and that he lended his support as the member of the church, saying that God was on our side.
And was there anything about this Greek village and the church that was unusual for Greece, or?
The only thing that, well, this is probably something that you can put together from what he's just said, that having a school and having a library in a village is unusual. It's normally that the more urban areas, that those are more seats of learning than you'd find out in this part of the country.
Right.
So that just stands out as unusual, but not unheard of.
I see. Any religious holidays or anything coming up that the town will be preoccupied?
Nothing outside of the ordinary.
Sundays.
Yes, although say Father Stathis has been increasing his frequency of his sermons. I believe he's probably even holding one today.
Oh, is today Wednesday?
Double check quickly.
He gave us the date.
Yeah, was
No, Wednesday is the target day.
Today's
Tuesday.
23rd.
Tuesday. That's unusual.
Yeah, Tuesday the 24th, because you arrived in Cairo on the Monday the 23rd.
Got it. That's right.
All right.
So basically, you've got the whole of today, and then the whole of tomorrow, and the raid happens on, let's say, 11 o'clock in the evening tomorrow evening.
Got it.
Well, so that's basically what we're talking about, and that's it.
Okay. Yeah,
That
he's.
can't be anything else.
I think he will probably bring it up first then. Are you planning at all? Planning going into the town?
Well, I don't see any reason to at the moment, but we want to know all the contingencies.
So if you did want to go into town, for whatever reason, maybe for planning anything that you have in mind for how to distract the Italian forces if they did reach the town, it would be advisable if we sent forewarning that we're coming. We don't want to put our friends in any kind of awkward position to suddenly explain who these people are, why they're here, what they're doing, and so forth.
Well, let's wait until we find out what happens tonight with the saboteur, if we can catch the snake.
Yep, no problem. Right.
If it turns out to be a person from the village, we might have to go to the village.
Mm-hmm. No, that's fair. So we'll send one of our scouts ahead to contact. Probably the constable would be the best choice, and then he can accompany the group back into the town afterwards.
Excellent. Okay.
Right. Otherwise, Carter and Tormund come back. So you're meeting probably Drummond and Barnes outside on the way back in, and you come together as a group back inside.
It should be about time for some midday meal, I trust.
Yeah, I
Did we
mean, there's
bring in some rations, or are we counting on eating locals' cheese and lamb?
Lentils and rice. Oh, they won't have lamb
lentils
this
and
time of
rice.
year.
you'd be aware, at least the powers that be would be aware of the fact of what's going on in Greece. So without maybe explaining it, because it was Thelma's revelation on the way over that the penny dropped, that you would have been issued with rations that would supplement your normal, your normal supplies, so that you're not putting an extra strain on their already strained reserves.
In fact, is there something we can share with the local and make ourselves a little popular?
Yeah, if you pull your stuff together, there's probably stuff that you can share, like bread or dried meats, the kind of things. What would be in rations
Chocolate
that you would be?
bars, they'd be popular.
Dark chocolate, yeah.
Yeah, bread does not keep. We should eat it soon. And yeah, a little chocolate makes everyone feel a bit friendly.
If they're
Everyone
keeping the
likes-
fast, they won't eat the meat.
There is
After
that.
lunch, should we reconnoiter the bear attack area after lunch? Would
I
that-
think we have some daylight. Yeah, so, and of course, we are exchanging our discoveries
yes.
over, so we're
Right.
mingling, and then we're also going to have our little powwow
Right.
under the.
In our
sycamore.
powwow, I'm thinking there might be a need to go into the town to find out more about what this religious upheaval is. And that's really why we're here.
Yeah.
So Tom's gonna think I have an ulterior motive here, but Georgia is a journalist, and surely from her perspective, she might have more knowledge on that religious stuff going on, so she might be perfect to speak to. Because once a journalist, always a journalist. You always
You have to
keeping
find a
things
reason to bring
noted.
it up without being obvious. So
Yes,
Mhm.
of course, but she might be the best person to try to speak to about it. At least more discreetly. And it might
Yeah, I
be-
mean,
all of you, and this is the private part. All of your concepts that it might be something more than a bear. I mean, we have to keep that in mind. We're investigating weird stuff.
yes.
mhm.
I think it's safe to say that even if it is a bear, the bear is under some influence, because it should be asleep. It cannot have. It's not as though the soldier can have bothered a young bear to make a mother angry. And the attack is so vicious. There's. I think we want to see if we can find something less than natural. Or something more than natural. So, and the group will know very closely where the attack happened, so we do not have to bother the Alexis again. And in daylight, with arms on our shoulders, we can look for tracks, a nest, a sign, a spoor, or something. Yeah.
Yes. I think speaking to like Georgia or any of the others about anything, we should leave that till later. Use what daylight we have and go check out where this attack happened. Yes.
If we're talking biology, we need to consider that, let's say it was a bear, and as you say, bears should probably be sleeping by now. But that's a normal bear. What if the bear is diseased or something and it's not sleeping and it's starving because this isn't springtime? There's not berries growing anywhere. And that might be exactly what would drive a bear to do this kind of, it could be
Sure.
rabid for all we know. That's
But
assuming that it's not something else.
we could at least it would just maybe help looking into it. If it's rabbit, it's rabbit. If it's...
We just need to be careful that it doesn't think of us as snacks.
Oh yes, yeah. Yeah, we can handle ourselves, Thelma.
You say that.
Well, we can shoot animals that are made of flesh.
Right, but if it ambushes us,
This is the thing. We are going to see it before it found them. We are
Jackals
aware
out.
that there is a. I mean, I assume that they didn't. They had their arms on their shoulders. They were having a chat.
was at night, they didn't see it
It was at
coming.
night. We will be going. What do you say? The Americans say, loaded for bear.
Did
I
they
pull
say
out
that?
another flask and down it.
Where are you getting all that alcohol from?
Dave
He
Frost.
just seems to always have a flask with him.
He's got
It's-
10 flasks strapped to his
That was the
hips and
equipment
legs.
he packed
Yeah,
in Cairo.
the bandolier didn't have grenades; it was just flasks.
I just have 3 flasks. So I'm not some crazy person who has about 100 flasks. I wouldn't be able to carry 100 flasks.
The battlefield alcoholic. Yeah.
So when we had our walk around, we looked for some likely places to watch at night. Now we have lunch and we make some friends. We have some chocolate with a new compatriot. And do we all want to go to walk in the hills in the north to look for the track of this evil bear?
Probably not a
I'd
bad
say that's a
idea.
good idea. It means we can all get familiar with the surroundings as well.
Yeah.
It all
We all
gives
know.
us a good opportunity to have conversation without
Yes.
anybody overhearing us.
Yeah.
And as I said, we should leave any if we need to speak to the others about anything, we go to the site first, then speak to anyone about anything we need to have.
Right.
Okay.
In a while since I've tracked anything.
You can get the site of where the attack took place, as you say, from anyone really, because it's not something that only a few people knew about. It's word that got back round to everyone pretty quickly. If you did want an excuse to go and talk to Georgia again, then that's a good reason. So she can give you basically the map, the grid reference as to where it took place, and describes the area. It's on the northern side of the valley, and it's relatively close to where the vegetation kind of stops, because you get so far up the mountainside or the slope, and then it's just rock. So
Right.
this is close to where, say, vegetation stops.
The timberline. Yeah.
She does make the point of saying that one of the things they have done with the scene is they have tried to clean it up, or at least disguise it enough that if anyone was out there and found it, that it wouldn't be raising any questions about why is there so much blood around here, for example. So they have done some.
Clean up.
If you think of it as a crime scene, they've destroyed a lot of the evidence already.
Yeah.
And we can ask her if it rains in this area this time of year. Naturally.
Yeah, it does. But there hasn't been any rainfall for about a week, so there hasn't been anything since.
So they had to clean it up. Yeah, otherwise there would be
They were out on patrol when this happened, correct? Yes.
So,
Yes.
so they were armed.
Yes.
Okay, so
Yeah. The one of the main things that Alexis said was that Stephanos tried to attack the bear, fend it off with his bayonet. So
Yeah.
they definitely were armed.
Well,
Bayonet
Did
would
you
do a
men-
lot of damage. I'm surprised.
oh yeah, bayonets are like
The bear
Did-
may have
did-
been wounded.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Did she say if there were any shots fired?
No, she didn't.
See, that would tell me that the bear was really fast because there was 4 of them and they were all armed. So it must have dispatched of them quite quickly.
If it was dark, they might not have had a good glimpse at it.
I
Mhm.
believe she told us that she took 2 of their throats out. Tout de suite, in a moment.
Mhm.
So if you are casually walking and your rifle is on shoulder, and suddenly, so maybe Stefano's her friend was the quickest. And
But going through the crackly leaves of a forest, and a big, how many hundreds of pounds bear is not
600
good.
pounds. Yeah.
Yeah, 600 pounds going through the crackly twigs and leaves of a forest. That's hard to believe it could get up that close.
It doesn't add up. No, it doesn't, does it?
Especially if you're a trained scout. If you're scouting, you'd
Well,
be on a high alert.
let's say it
So-
was just sitting there minding its own business and they stumbled across it and it attacked. Animals don't attack everyone in a party. If it was hungry, it would have grabbed one of them and wrestled him to the ground and killed him, and it wouldn't stop what it was doing and go get somebody else. I mean, it doesn't sound like an animal. It doesn't sound like an animal at all.
I
I
wonder,
also must say this Tasia told us she goes on patrol by herself. And this is a group of 4. And they're so unaware. Maybe they were not scouting. Maybe they were having a tryst.
what was Tassia
Well,
doing?
you know that you're thinking a sexual encounter.
I use this a little bit in a manner absurd, but they obviously were not actively searching the terrain if they can.
Wild
snuck up.
animals will attack animals that are having sex. I mean, it's the most vulnerable moment
Yes,
to attack someone.
and it would explain why they wouldn't have been
Seen
so
it
alert. Yes. Anyway, I will turn to Jug and go. Thank you for the information, and I give her and we may wish to speak to you in a bit as well, and I give her a cheeky little wink as well.
Who are you talking to?
Georgia, because she was with us.
Oh, I thought we were all alone having a discussion.
I went back to. I would have got because she
Oh.
would have been like over there. So
Yeah,
And we never-
thought you.
we never said goodbye. We were pretty rude. So.
She's not loitering around listening to you. It's mainly when
No.
you goes to go and get the grid reference of where the site is.
Ah,
Yeah, I'd have gone and double checked and then make sure.
my intention was for most of that conversation to have been completely private. So
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. As you go and give Georgia a wink, you can give me a psychology roll if you want.
What have I got myself into? Okay, yeah, that's just a regular pass. 25 on 35.
Okay, she kind of gives you a look that for a moment you think is playful, but the more you kind of roll it around in your mind, trying to think what it means and the way she acts and her body language, you still think that maybe there's a bit of distrust, that maybe she's not convinced by you as a group yet.
Okay.
Yeah, she's
in my
keeping
head,
her cards close. She's keeping her cards close to her chest, though.
my hope is in my head. I'm just like, there's still a chance.
Well, maybe, you never know.
And then I go back, grinning to the others.
So you have determined the grid coordinates where we are to go to find the site of the attack. What is
Yes.
the round trip if we
Not
do
far.
not dally? Is half an hour to the site and another half an hour, or
Are you planning on going directly to the site and then coming straight back here, or going via the town?
I
What's
think
your
we'll just
route
go
plan?
straight there and then come back, right?
we go back to where the attack happened? But if we find something, say there's a rib bone 5 feet and
Right,
then an
right.
ankle bone, but the short trip just there and back is 2
But
hours.
we're not going to go to the town.
Gotcha.
Not yet. What you say is that we are not welcome there.
Yeah, we need to send some word ahead. But We'll definitely do that if we find some evidence that there's foul play.
If you were to take a more direct route, that would bring you a bit too close to the town for comfort. So you are going to have to take a somewhat curved route to get there. You reckon it's probably going to be the best part of an hour. 1 hour there, 1 hour back.
Okay.
Yeah. So if we go after lunch and we spend 2 hours looking around, we still come back with daylight.
Sure. Yeah.
So yeah, sounds reasonable to me.
Yep. And you've then still got plenty of time to, if you wanted to survey the rest of the valley that would take you down towards the train line, to set up, to identify places where you could set up distractions, because there's various options.
Yes, because if we are in the hills north, we can go to the train without being in town. Yeah, okay, this is useful.
Yeah, so there's various things you can do while you're out and about. Okay, in which case set off after lunch. It's a relatively comfortable walk. It's not too inclined, so it's not like you're mountain climbing to get up there or having to really go up a steep slope. It's a gentle enough slope that it's a comfortable walk. And within about an hour, you come to this area and you start looking around. Given the description that Georgina gave of the area, you are fairly confident you find where the attack took place. Without needing spot hidden rolls or without needing track rolls, you identify there is a kind of clearing in the brush. There's some bushes around here, but the ground has been torn up quite a bit. So it's evidently that they've covered over the bloody dirt by basically putting another layer of dirt over the top of it. So you do find an area where it looks like some people have been digging and then moving soil and trying to cover this up.
Damage to plants around and bushes and
that kind of stuff is harder to hide. So there is evidence of a struggle having taken place here. So there are things like broken branches and a nearby tree, bushes that look as though they've been flattened and so forth.
Now, my guess is that they covered this up here, but if the bodies were dragged off somewhere, how far out are they going to follow to cover it up? I don't think they would. So there must be broken branches or trees, or bushes going off in a direction.
Yeah, we could try tracking that.
Yeah, there'll definitely be a trail.
Indeed, especially if bodies are being dragged. As you said, they can't cover the trail the whole way, otherwise they'd know where the bodies went because they would have followed the tracks. You can give me track rolls, but they are going to have to be pretty good. I will give you that warning.
All right. My track ability.
You're looking in the clouds.
Yeah, I'm looking in the clouds to see if I...
Oh, geez.
Oh,
I am going to spend 5 luck to make extreme.
that's an 04.
Whoa.
Just follow chat.
Yeah.
I am looking very correctly at a small shrub that is broken, and then these two run off past me up the hill, giggling.
What have you found, boy?
Well, it is an extreme success you need because this is particularly obscured, and it is a fair way away from the initial site to pin it down. You do find what appear to be drag marks. The drag marks imply that the two bodies of, well, it looks like 2 bodies actually. You don't see drag marks for a third person. So 2 bodies were dragged away fairly close together, and in such a way that they obscure the tracks of the thing that's dragging it. So it's like as if immediately behind them that their footprints have been cast, and then the drag marks cover them over. The 2 bodies that were moved from the site go up to a point. They go pretty much north towards the higher level of the higher level of the rocky surface of the slope of the mountain. When they hit rock, there is then no way to track it because there's no drag marks left at that point. But you are positive that only 2 bodies were dragged out of here. There is no sign. There is no sign, even going in any other direction, of a third body being moved.
So,
What do you make of that?
there were definitely 4 of them, correct?
That's what they said, yeah.
But we know one back at this. Obviously, the girl's back at the site. 2 have been dragged away. Where's the 4th? What happened to the 4th?
Well, there's still a. Do bears drag their meat away, or do they just eat it where they are?
I'll let your extreme track roll ride as well. There's no way a bear did this, because a bear does not drag 2 bodies side by side behind it to cover its tracks.
I think to drag 2 bodies, you need more than 4 paws.
Yes,
You
and
can carry
or
one thing in your
rope or
mouth. You
something.
can carry maybe one thing in a paw, but you cannot carry 2 things.
yes, and bears.
Is there a way to tell? We follow the tracks up to the rock, looking at the hill or the mountain. Is there a way to kind of guess what might likely be an area? I mean, obviously you can't go straight up a cliff, but you can go along the side of it.
With the area where you're fairly sure the attack happened, and then the trajectory that they have taken from here, it almost appears that they have taken the most direct route to get to the closest point where the trail would naturally be obscured. So you don't think they're heading in any particular. You're not extrapolating and finding anything that makes sense carrying on that line. It's that they dragged the bodies to hide their trail as soon as they possibly could, and then make their way across rock. This implies
in this area, does it seem likely geologically to have caves?
You would be pretty sure that there would be. There's got to be caves around here.
You know,
there are gaps already that we can see that are smaller.
There's boulders. You can probably actually even see a couple of cave openings from where you are here.
Our young lady who survived. It's a traumatic experience. She lost an eye. It was moonlight and a sudden attack. Could there have been more than one bear?
I would not be surprised by this. What did you think, Officer Carter?
Well, there could have been. She seemed like she was hiding. There was something she wasn't coming fully clean with, but I'm not certain.
She had been through so much. I don't know. I did not understand some of her behavior.
Right. As you are stood there, without the need of a roll, because the sound echoes throughout the valley, you hear the sound of an engine. And coming down the road from the east to the west, you can see what looks like a Italian patrol car. For those of you that have a knowledge of cars, it's a Fiat 508 Colonel. It's driving. There's a fair way away from you. There's a very unlikely chance that anyone would see you from this distance, but you still prepare just on reaction more than anything else. And you see it drive down the valley and towards the village. A few moments pass, and then you hear the very distinctive sound of a gun being fired. You're not even sure if it's up in the air or whether it's at someone, but you hear about 3 gunshots ring out from the town. And that is where we will leave it for tonight.
Oof.
Excellent. Very good.
Our players included Mark Anthony, David Gasway, Stuart Lively, Josh Harwood, and myself, with Matthew Sanderson as the keeper of the secrets. We have a Discord server where you can chat with other members, you can set up a private game, and you can learn the finer arts of gameplay and game mastering. There's a link below. We're currently producing up to 4 shows a week with music and sound effects added in post-production, In order to create a richer listener experience, we provide audio-only versions of our shows free for you to download from Podbean or iTunes. The cost involved with the show are provided almost entirely by our patrons. Without them, we wouldn't be able to do what we do. If you'd like to help support our show, please visit our Patreon account. Just $1 or $2 a month helps us a lot. You can find a link in the description below. Like, share, and subscribe to our channel, and punch the bell icon for updates on our latest shows, and leave us some comments. We enjoy reading them and answering any questions you might have. This is Tom Rayleigh, together with all the members of our gaming club, inviting you to journey with us once again into the darkness for another adventure into the universe of H.P. Lovecraft and the Call of Cthulhu role-playing game. Until next time, good luck, good gaming.